Kentucky's tremendous variety of natural communities helps define Kentucky's biodiversity, the amazing variety of living organisms, and the natural connections that link them together as populations, communities, and ecosystems. There are approximately 3,000 different plants, 53 amphibians, 52 reptiles, 364 birds, 70 mammals, and an unknown number of invertebrates, including thousands of insects, living in Kentucky. Nationally, Kentucky is ranked number 3 in freshwater diversity, number 11 in amphibian diversity, and number 20 in reptile diversity. Kentucky is located at the center of the world's richest temperate deciduous forest. Remnants of the vast North American prairie are still found here. Western Kentucky has thousands of acres of protected wetlands, one of the most biodiverse ecosystems on the planet. Our state is internationally recognized as a hotspot for freshwater biodiversity, with thousands of miles of streams and one of the highest numbers of fish, mussel, and crayfish species in North America. Home to Mammoth Cave, the world's longest cave system, Kentucky's biodiversity includes these sensitive and very unique habitats, with creatures specially adapted to live only in caves. Minerals are the major contribution to the Bluegrass State's economy. These consist mainly of coal, limestone, rock asphalt, gravel, and sandal products of sedimentation. The state is part of a very old land surface, lying within the eastern uplifted Appalachian Plateau and the westerly interior low plateaus. During most of the Paleozoic and Mesozoic eras, Kentucky lay beneath the sea, and thus its rock formations are predominantly sedimentary shells, sandstones, limestone, etc., with almost no igneous or metamorphic intrusions. The highest point in Kentucky is Black Mountain on the southeastern boundary in Harlan County at 4,139 feet. The lowest point is 257 feet along the Mississippi River in Fulton County. The state's mean altitude is 750 feet. The only large lakes in Kentucky are artificial. The biggest is Cumberland Lake at 79 square miles. Kentucky Lake, Lake Barkley, and Dale Hollow Lake straddle the border with Tennessee. Kentucky has a moderate, relatively humid climate with abundant rainfall. The southern and lowland regions are slightly warmer than the uplands. In Louisville, the normal monthly temperature ranges from 33 degrees Fahrenheit in January to 76 degrees Fahrenheit in July. The record high for the state was 114 degrees Fahrenheit, registered in Greensburg on July 28th of 1930. The record low was negative 37 degrees Fahrenheit in Shelbyville on January 19th of 1994. The average annual precipitation at Louisville from 1971 to 2000 was 44.5 inches. Snowfall totals are about 18 inches a year. The Jackson Purchase region makes up the far western portion of the state and includes the city of Paducah. Plains and small hills cover the region, and its low-lying areas near the Ohio and Mississippi rivers are blessed with fertile farmland and an abundance of agriculture. The region's dominant crops are corn, winter wheat, and soybeans. The state's famed bluegrass region, situated in the north-central part of the state, is home to gently rolling hills, streams, and springs. Horse ranches, pastures, and farms dot the landscape, and the region's limestone is responsible for some of the state's most fertile soil. Farmers in the region grow crops of tobacco, and city dwellers live in the thriving urban centers of Lexington, Louisville, and Covington. The Bluegrass region's mean temperature is 53 degrees Fahrenheit. Summers are usually warm and humid, which is typical for the entire state. Nestled in the eastern portion of the state is the Eastern Kentucky Coalfield region's rugged landscape of hills and valleys. It lies along the Appalachian Plateau. The state's highest peak reaches 4,139 feet on the region's Black Mountain. The Coalfield region teems with natural resources such as coal deposits, natural gas, and expansive hardwood and softwood forests. While the area's soil isn't as fertile as in other regions, farmers still grow crops of tobacco, hay, and corn. This region experiences mild spring and autumn weather, but temperatures rise to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, an average of 20 days per year. The western Kentucky coalfield region sits to the east of the Jackson Purchase region, below the state of Illinois and Indiana. The area is heavily forested and has some poorly drained wetlands near the Ohio River. The region is rich in coal, and its fertile soil yields abundant soybean and corn crops. The western portion of the state generally experiences its last freeze in early April and has a longer growing season than the eastern region. The Pennyroyal region lies in the southern portion of the state. The region is known for its rolling hills, streams, springs, and Mammoth Cave, the world's longest cave system. Forest and tobacco, corn, soybean, and winter wheat crops also dot the landscape. The southern section of Kentucky typically experiences less than 5 inches of precipitation a year, and snowfall usually doesn't last more than a week. The Pennyroyal region may also see highs of 90 degrees Fahrenheit for a few weeks each summer. Kentucky has a very diverse group of angiosperms, or flowering plants, that are native to the state. Many of these species have relatives that are found in other states or even countries. For example, Kentucky has over 41 species of orchids that are found in our marshes, prairies, and most forest types. Unlike orchids found in tropical environments, Kentucky's orchids are terrestrial, meaning they live on the ground, as opposed to epiphytic, which means they are anchored in trees. Kentucky also has a species of cactus, known as the eastern prickly pear. As you know, most cacti are found in a more arid environment, but Kentucky has such a diverse and thriving ecosystem, these cacti have found a home here. Many of Kentucky's native grasses and accompanying prairie plants need direct sunlight. Nature has a way of providing this by occasionally burning the grasslands. While this may seem detrimental to the plants, many, including the Eggert sunflower, require periodic fire to sustain their life cycle. A beautiful flower native to the area that also benefits from a fire is the wood lily. It requires huge amounts of sun. The fires can clear growth that may have been hindering it in the past. Without the fires, it is often limited in where it can grow, usually along wood lines. The diversity of topography in Kentucky allows many species of plants small niche environments where they have been able to thrive for a very long time. The limestone flameflower has extremely delicate roots and stems that allow this flower to live in small, shallow patches of soil found in rocky outcroppings. While this small amount of soil can offer the flameflower a place to live, that small amount of soil can be easily washed away by excessive erosion or even swept away by excessive foot or vehicle traffic. The ever-popular all-terrain vehicles can often traverse these outcroppings that are necessary for these delicate yet beautiful plants to live and wipe them away forever. Environmental degradation is the major cause of these Kentucky angiosperms' decline. For example, the Kentucky lady slipper orchid is extremely sensitive to changes in the hydrology of its environment. Activities like the clearing of trees for farmland, an increase in runoff from construction or paving, and water channelization are all detrimental to the water quality that these unique orchids need to survive. Construction and water degradation aren't the only concerns for Kentucky's native flora, however. Price's potato bean, one of the 8 federally listed endangered plants in Kentucky, is in danger from habitat loss, but it is also threatened because of past overcollection. The tubers from this plant are edible and in the past have been collected for food. It is believed that early pioneers and Native Americans harvested this plant as a food source at one time. The single biggest threat to Kentucky's unique flowering plants is indeed habitat loss, though. As the demand for more farmland grows, the natural habitat for most of these plants is being destroyed. Some of these plants are only found in very limited areas of the state. In fact, 30% of the KSNPC listed plants are only found in one county, and right around 70% of these plants are from 5 or fewer counties. Kentucky has 120 counties, so that is a significant number of species that are found in niche environments. Invertebrates play an enormous role in our world. Kentucky benefits from many of these invertebrate species. They decompose once living material, produce soil, are a valuable food source to many of the creatures found here, and offer services like pest control and plant pollination. The term invertebrate literally means creatures without backbones. They include familiar groups such as insects, mussels, snails, and spiders. More than 70% of all known species in the world and approximately 99% of all known animals are invertebrates, so they play a huge role in our life, whether we know it or not. Kentucky has 210 species of land snails and slugs. These creatures thrive in our area because of the diversity our state has to offer. Land snails can thrive here, for instance, because of Kentucky's high percentage of limestone near the surface. Snails use the limestone for calcium carbonate to create and repair the shells that offer them protection. The largest snail found in the state is the queen crater. It measures up to 1.5 inches in diameter. In comparison, some of the smaller species can barely be seen unless you specifically are looking for them. Some of our snails are only found in very specific areas of the state. For instance, the glassy grapeskin snail, named for its extremely thin shell, is found in the higher elevations, particularly on Pine and Black Mountain in eastern Kentucky. In comparison, the striped white-lipped snail is found in the lowest elevations of Kentucky, exclusively along the Ohio and Mississippi rivers. Another example of a snail with a picky home preference is the armored rock snail. This mean-looking little creature lives only on the rocky shoals of large rivers like the Kentucky and Tennessee rivers. Kentucky has numerous species of arachnids, although few studies have ever been completed on specific numbers or species. Here are a few examples. The six-spotted fishing spider feeds on small fish, insects, and other invertebrates that share its habitat. It can walk on the surface of the water and even dive beneath in search of prey. The southern black widow and the brown recluse are a few of Kentucky's poisonous spiders, although there aren't many. The only known species of scorpions known in Kentucky is the southern unstriped scorpion. It is venomous, but it is not dangerous to humans. It is said that its sting feels about as painful as the wasp that are found here in Kentucky. They're very difficult to find unless you know where to look, although they have been reported inside some homes and barns. Only 12 arachnid taxa are considered rare by the KSNPC. Of those 12, 7 are what is known as pseudoscorpions. They have pincers but no stinger. All of the 12 are found exclusively in subterranean environments. There are 54 species of crayfish found in Kentucky. Crayfish in general are found only in the southeastern United States. 10% of the world's population of crayfish is found exclusively in Kentucky. Here are some unique examples. Many of the species also have numerous color patterns. Again, the single largest threat to these creatures is habitat loss. Water degradation and loss of food sources can wreak havoc on these picky creatures. Vertebrates are Kentucky's largest and most complex animals. They are also the creatures that we know the most about. They are often studied and often considered the most interesting because of their complexity. These highly evolved animals include fish, reptiles, amphibians, mammals, and birds. Kentucky's freshwater fish are often broken into 5 groups. These groups include the Big River, lowland, upland, subterranean, and Terrapin Creek fish. Of all these groups, the subterranean and the Terrapin Creek fish are the most exclusive to Kentucky. Here are some examples of fish that are found. They include the smallmouth red horse, speckled darter, golden top minnow, and the black-side dace. There are currently 53 species of amphibian fauna found in Kentucky. Most of them are frogs and salamanders. Kentucky has groundwater near the surface, which allows a high population to be found in our state. We have numerous extremely vocal frogs and even an enormously large salamander. In fact, the eastern hellbender can grow up to 2 feet in length. Its closest competitor and relative lives in Southeast Asia. Kentucky's rarest salamanders is likely the rarest amphibian found in the state. It is known to be found in only a few rock outcroppings in the southeastern part of the state and is known as Worrell's salamander. Kentucky's largest turtle is an ancient and highly secretive. It is usually found in the floodplain and large, slow-moving rivers. Weighing in at up to 200 pounds is the alligator snapping turtle. There are currently 71 species of mammals found in the state. All but 4 of them are native to the state. There is only 1 marsupial and 1 armadillo, 10 shrews and moles, 16 bats, 3 rabbit, 24 rodents, 12 carnivores, and 4 hoofed mammals. Only a little over 200 years ago, there were huge numbers of large herbivores, including elk and American bison. There were also large carnivores in the area that lived off them, including wolves and eastern cougars. Hunting pressure, deforestation, and tilled prairies led to these creatures leaving our state. Black bears are currently our largest predator, and our tiniest predatory mammals include the weasel and bats. There are 16 species of bats found in and around Kentucky's numerous cave systems. But starting in 2006, a new mysterious illness took hold and started killing them during hibernation. A white fungus appears around the nose of bats and suffocates them. This white fungus is known as white nose syndrome and is spread by cavers. Anyone entering and exiting caves should thoroughly disinfect as soon as possible. This fungus has killed hundreds of thousands of bats and should be taken extremely seriously. 14 of Kentucky's mammals are considered rare. Half of those are bats. Natural heritage programs maintain species and natural community data that is collected during field surveys. This data is conducted by biologists or retrieved from literature. Data from the Natural Heritage Program Network is used by state and federal agencies and consultants for the purpose of studying rare species and natural communities. Conservation lands can be public, owned by federal, state, or local government, or private, and offer some designated or recognized degree of natural area protection. For the protection of Kentucky's biodiversity, these lands are essential. Can you believe there are more than 1.6 million acres of conservation lands in Kentucky? All of these lands directly or indirectly protect Kentucky's biodiversity to some degree. Daniel Boone National Forest is the largest area of conservation land in the Commonwealth. Within its 707,000 acres are nearly 1,000 occurrences of 160 different KSNPC listed species and 12 federally listed species. Some of the threatened and endangered species that can be found at Daniel Boone include the Virginia big-eared bat, freshwater mussels, running buffalo clover, and white-haired goldenrod. In Hardin County, Saunders Springs Nature Preserve is a heavily wooded natural area located on steep terrain with interesting historic features. Saunders Springs has a great diversity of species dominated by a variety of oaks. There are 5 different types of plant communities with 80+ native plant species located in the Kentucky Native Plants Garden, along with 30 species of trees. Another preserve in Hardin County is the Vernon Douglas State Nature Preserve. This 730-acre preserve protects one of the most mature second-growth forests in the Knobs physiographic region. The preserve features sugar maple, beech, and tulip poplar, and a spring wildflower display. If you decide to take a hike at Vernon Douglas, be on the lookout for rare venomous snakes and steep slopes. In the mid-1960s and the 1970s, numerous new state and federal laws were enacted to address diminished environmental quality and loss of natural resources and to impose more environmental oversight. These statutes help to cut down on air and water pollution that may endanger human health and degrade the habitat and threaten plant and animal species. Some regulatory milestones that benefited Kentucky diversity include the Clean Air Act in 1963, the EPA being created in 1970. In 1972, the Clean Water Act was passed, and the Kentucky Natural Resource Environmental Protection Cabinet was established. In 1973, the Endangered Species Act was enacted. We hope you have enjoyed this presentation about Kentucky's unique natural beauty and conservation. Although the government, private landowners, and nonprofit programs are actively working on conservation efforts, the future of Kentucky's natural heritage lies with the choices we make. Let's work together to protect Kentucky's unique biodiversity.